The film begins with several police officers discovering a cargo ship run aground on the shores of England on August 6, 1897. This ship turns out to be the merchant vessel named the Demeter. When they board the ship, they find no surviving crew members, only the captain's logbook. Inside there is a dire warning. If he finds you, pray. He has left the Demeter. We tried to stop him, but if we have failed, may God have mercy on your souls. The scene then shifts to 4 weeks earlier, before the Demeter was found on the English coast. On July 6, 1897, the Demeter had received an order to transport a large number of cargo crates from Bulgaria to England. The ship's captain, Captain Elliot, needed additional crew to help carry these crates. His first mate, Mr. Wojciech, assisted him in selecting worthy candidates. One of those hoping to be chosen was Clemens, who was not seeking the job merely for the wages, but needed passage back to London. Although Clemens explained that he was a doctor and could be of service, Wojciech initially did not pick him. After Wojciech selected 3 other men to be extra crew members, they were told to hurry and load all the cargo crates onto the ship. The individuals delivering these crates were from Romania, and they did not list a specific sender, only the delivery address was provided. They also refused to board the Demeter themselves, insisting that they had to leave before sunset. One of the newly hired crew members noticed a strange symbol on the side of one crate. Distracted by this, he nearly dropped it. Toby, the captain's grandson, was almost crushed in the process, but Clemens quickly intervened and saved the boy. Grateful that Toby was rescued, Captain Elliot decided to allow Clemens to join them on the voyage after all. With that, the Demeter set sail from Bulgaria to England. Toby eagerly showed Clemens around the ship, proudly introducing him to his dog, Huck, who was a cheerful companion on board. At first, all seemed pleasant, and the weather was cooperative. Captain Elliot confided to Mr. Wojciech that this voyage would be his last, for he planned to retire in the Irish countryside with his daughter and grandson Toby. While they were enjoying dinner one evening, Huck began barking incessantly. Toby was asked to check on the livestock they carried for provisions, as the animals sounded agitated and frightened. A short time later, a powerful wave struck the Demeter. Concerned that some cargo might have shifted, Clemens suggested that Toby alert the captain. Clemens went below to inspect the hold and was startled to find a young woman hidden in one of the crates. The crew brought her to their living quarters, and Clemens attempted to save her life by giving her a blood transfusion. Some of the men wanted to throw her overboard, believing a woman on board would bring misfortune, but Captain Elliot refused. He insisted she be placed in the wood storeroom where Clemens could care for her. That night, Mr. Olgarin and Clemens were on watch. Through his telescope, Olgarin suddenly spotted a horrifying figure lurking in the darkness, though it vanished moments later. At daybreak, the ship's chef went to gather ingredients for the next meal and was horrified to find that Huck and all the remaining livestock were dead. The crew grew angry, knowing these animals were their key food supply for the long journey, yet now they had been mysteriously destroyed. Several men blamed the unknown woman found below deck, though she remained unconscious despite Clemens's repeated blood transfusions. By now they had been at sea for 10 days, facing harsh weather. The chef remarked to Clemens that something about the ship seemed truly off. There wasn't a single rat scurrying anywhere. That night, it was Abrams and Petrovsky who stood watch. Petrovsky discovered something had breached part of the ship, and Abrams was nowhere to be seen. Come morning, the others assumed Petrovsky might have been drunk and simply fallen overboard. Mr. Wojciech grew suspicious of Clemens, because it was Clemens who had found Petrovsky's knife during the night. At last, the woman awoke from her prolonged coma. She said her name was Anna, and urgently warned that everyone needed to abandon the Demeter at once, or face a terrible end. It was now July 18th when Petrovsky disappeared, prompting Captain Elliot to order a thorough search of the ship. Night fell again, and Anna confided in Clemens that the creature responsible for these attacks was Dracula. She spoke of an old castle in her village where Dracula dwelled, preying on people after dark and draining their blood. She herself was an offering that her townspeople had provided to placate the monster. That night, July 24th, Olgren and Larson took their turn standing guard. Dracula crept out in the midst of a fierce storm, seeking his next victim. Larsen was attacked, prompting Olgren to scramble up the mast. Dracula then pursued Olgren, leaving the helm unmanned so the ship began to list dangerously. The rest of the crew woke up and rushed to steady the vessel. They could not find Larsen, but discovered Olgren high on the mast, barely conscious, with deep marks on his neck. Clemens managed to close the wound as best he could, and they had to tie Olgren down for everyone's safety. Captain Elliot then ordered another sweep of the entire ship. Meanwhile, he told Toby to stay in the captain's cabin, clean the telescope, and remain there. Not long after, Olgaren suddenly revived in an odd condition. Toby stepped out of the cabin and encountered him in the corridor. Olgaren dragged Toby several steps, but Toby managed to escape and barricade himself back in the captain's quarters. Olgaren started pounding on the door, and Toby hid under a table, quietly tapping on a support post in hopes someone would hear. Eventually, Olgren wandered away. Alerted by the commotion, the captain and Clemens rushed back inside. To their horror, they caught sight of Dracula draining Toby's blood. Toby lay unconscious from the wound on his neck. They restrained Olgren to the ship's mast, and in a strange moment, he spoke as though nothing were wrong. But when morning came, Olgren's body ignited in the sunlight. At the same time, Clemens and Anna went to the cargo hold to investigate all the crates. They discovered there was no actual sender's name listed, only instructions to deliver them to Carfax Abbey in London. That evening, Abrams and the chef were posted on watch. Yet the chef suddenly knocked Abrams unconscious and lowered a lifeboat into the water. Unbeknownst to the others, he planned to flee the Demeter on his own. As Clemens pried open more crates, he confirmed they contained nothing but soil, except for one, which was filled with writhing maggots and a single wooden staff. Meanwhile, the chef, rowing away in the lifeboat, encountered Dracula, who swiftly ended his escape. When dawn broke, Toby had passed away. The crew wrapped him in a shroud, intending to commit his body to the sea. Yet as Captain Elliot was preparing to do so, he saw the bundle move. Tearing the fabric back, he realized Toby had become tainted, and as sunlight hit him, the boy's body caught fire, slightly injuring the captain. Clemens quickly cast Toby's remains overboard, leaving the captain deeply shaken by his grandson's fate. Seeing his anguish, Wojciech, Clemens, Abrams, and Anna devised a plan to rid themselves of Dracula before reaching England. They asked permission from the captain to sink the Demeter if necessary, in hopes of destroying the creature once and for all. That night, Anna volunteered to act as bait to lure Dracula, with Clemens standing guard, while Abrams and Wojciech stayed aloft to watch for any sign of an attack. Unfortunately, Dracula sensed their scheme and avoided going after Anna, choosing instead to strike Abrams and Wojciech on the rigging. In an instant, Abrams was gone. Wojciech fought back courageously, but he fell from a great height, sustaining grave injuries. The captain, attempting to take the wheel, was then set upon by Dracula as well. At that point, only Clemens and Anna remained. Determined to survive, Clemens engaged Dracula amid the howling storm and crashing waves. Dracula managed to wound Clemens, leaving a deep scratch. Anna arrived in time to help, frantically cutting one of the mainsails loose, causing the mast to swing and knock Dracula down. She and Clemens leapt overboard as the storm worsened, leaving the Demeter with no one at the helm. From a distance, a lighthouse keeper on the English coast spotted the distressed vessel in high seas and called for local authorities. Yet it was clear that Dracula was still at large. By the following day, Clemens and Anna had escaped the doomed Demeter, but faced a grim realization. Anna was unable to remain fully human. When the sunlight touched her, she began to burn. She implored Clemens to make his way to London, then perished in the morning rays. Heartbroken, Clemens eventually reached London on his own. There he knew Dracula must also be present, having survived the sinking and already seeking new victims in the bustling city. Resolute, Clemens planned to visit Carfax Abbey to confront the creature. The final scene implies that Dracula has already set his sights on Clemens, leaving the story open as to how their inevitable clash will unfold.
send it back to hell.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.